A painting or a scene, I should say a scene, has has an underlying foundation that holds it all up. And that foundation is what helps to establish distance. It's what helps to establish the various components of the scene: trees, water, sky, flat land, roads, whatever, bushes. Uh, it is various shapes and values and colors, but there's a way to look at a scene and think of it in a simple state from what we normally are looking at all the puzzle shapes. So let me go to, I'm going to be jumping around to a couple different scenes here, and I'm going to open up a couple scene, a couple the study and the reference. The reference that I had, it's an old reference. And unfortunately, the reference faded out. It was a printed reference, faded out. I did add a little bit, brought it back to some of the color that it was originally. But it was a morning scene, obviously light coming from left to right, and a little stream bed with some marsh grasses and trees in the distance and so forth. And so what the artist has to think about, and a lot of times when the beginning painter or even the intermediate gets out there, we start thinking about all the little bells and whistles, all the detail and elements. We can't wait to paint all those. And a lot of times we're painting the very soon before we even establish what I'm referring to as the foundation of the scene. And the image to your left has taken this same scene and has broken it down into various components, as if I gave you construction paper with various colors. If this was a yellow, green, kind of a dark ochre, lighter ochre, kind of a grayed color. If I was to give you the construction paper, and with the scissors you cut out the scenes or the areas of separation that you would see here, at some point I have to make a division between this shape and this shape. You can see how this shape here has, if a wheel, it's made more like that. And then what I did is I just added this in, but the dark shape comes in here, runs along the edge of the creek, and so you can kind of get an idea of what I might have taken here in consideration and developed dark shapes. This being the dark shape, this being the lighter green shape here that you're seeing over here, and this again is the dark shape. So you kind of get the idea of what's going on. At some point you can make up some shapes a little bit. Here's the shadow side, obviously, of the tree. And what I did is I developed that, and then I came in here. And on this side here, I wanted to create a little bit of a distance between the front part of the tree, which it really was in the scene, I remember, and then a little bit of a back part of the scene, which goes back something like that. So same thing here and here. So it gives you an idea of how an artist can look at a scene and identify its simplicity, and at the same time you're separating value or light and shadow, and you're also separating zones in the scene, things that are in the foreground. This is all foreground here. Yeah, this is all foreground. This is foreground, and so let's just refer to that as, I'm going to back up, I'll just refer to that as zone 1. That's the foreground. So this is 1, this is all 1, this is 1. And then we have middle distance, which could be 2. So this gets into 2, this gets into 2, this gets into 2. And then we have distance, which would be 3 and 3 and 3, and maybe 3 here. And this is probably all, it's still into middle distance. And then we have 4, when we have distance, we have foreground, middle distance, distance, and then we have our last one, sky. So that kind of separates the zones that we see here. Here's our sky, zone 4. Here's 3. Here's our 2. Here's our 3 back here. I took this post out and just eliminated that. So we have a section of 3 back there, 2 here, and then we have all our foreground elements in 1. So it gives you a quick idea of what the artist needs to do to be able to identify the scene and how one can easily develop the foundation in the scene. Let me get these out and just erase these. For some reason I'm not able to. Let me quick just, I'm gonna put you on pause a second. I'll be right back. So here we're back again to that foundation scene, but what I want to do is take you to the next stage. The next stage after I develop or think about. Sometimes I don't necessarily paint it this way, but I'm thinking of this in reference to the actual object. Here's the actual scene in front of me or my reference, and this is what I'm thinking about to develop the various zones and to develop the foundation of it. And then after that, then I go with the next segment where I start to develop more information from that original foundation. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Maybe one more. Whoops, I got too big. There we go. So that's the first stage. The second stage, I'm developing a little bit more, starting to soften edges so that you don't have just those straight hard edge lines all over. I start to think of how shapes start to merge between one another. The darks are starting to connect more, and the lights are separating a little bit more. And then stage 3 is kind of putting all the bells and whistles on, if you will. Let's go back to the reference, and then of course again let's go back to what the painting can eventually come to. A little pathway here, or a road, a tree and shadow and form, distance. You can see the field, how it's warmer here. It's a little cooler back in this area here, and then some of the last things that we put in to give a little bit more information to that foreground. The if you will, the focal point is pretty much right in this area here. That's the focal point that I wanted you to look at. There are maybe secondary ones. You can jump up in here and then maybe back over here, but it's things to get you around and move you around in the scene. But to get to this stage, you need to think of developing the foundation. And too many times, people are painting all to this stage without a proper, let me get rid of that one line there. Whoops. There we go. Whoop. Okay. Without developing a proper foundation, which will help establish distance, which help establish foreground, middle distance, and sky, which will help identify shadow shapes and light. It's a big benefit to you if you start to think that way. So let's take a look at a scene here. I can get to this one. Here's a scene, and what I did is in Photoshop I took that scene and simplified it into masses, into large shapes, as if I had a bunch of colored construction paper with the scissors, and just started to think of the simplified shapes. Still, it shows light and shadow. You can see a covered bridge. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. And then from that, I think of how I would be painting the scene, and this is what the end result of the on-location study was. But to get to this, I had to first think of, look at that and think of this, thinking of the foundation, the element that held it all together. It's no different than building a house. If you're going to build a house, you can't start out with the You see a picture of the house. This is the house you want to build. You can't start out with the landscaping and the door knocker and the shutters. You got to build the hole in the ground and build a foundation and the walls and everything. And a painting is no different. You have to start from what makes it tick, what sets up the eventual elements that give you the distance back here, that give you the tree in front, that gives you the opportunity to put leaves, more leaves, less leaves, make more branches bright. You can see from, again, from the original, I took out this large tree, and I edited that out, and I made a little bit more of the light. Now when I painted this, I took this shot. When I painted it, the light is changing. There was trees in back of me, so occasionally part of this tree might have been in shadow. But again, when I painted it, then I could put in what I wanted and craft it how I wanted the light and shadow effect to work. So don't forget to think about developing the foundation of your painting. It is a very important step that needs to be considered. It'll help you in your process of painting. Plus, it also freezes that moment of light. When you're out on location, even if you do block it in like this, you can always come back in. The paint is wet, or if it's acrylic, you can make transitions, the next transition between two colors that you have more separated out. You can make the next transition between it, kind of like what I've done here in a sense, but you can do that in these other areas. So it's a good habit to think about, and it'll get you up that rung of the ladder a little bit quicker. Take care. Hope you enjoyed this quick lesson.
Hi, my name is Kenn Backhaus, and welcome to this online art instructional course. I've been involved in the arts professionally my entire life. I'm a signature member of the Plein Painters of America, master signature member of both the Oil Painters of America and the American Impressionist Society. My works have appeared in many of the national art magazines. I've been included in several books, to name a few: The Art of the National Parks, Sea to Shining Sea, and The Enchanted Isle plein air painting on Catalina Island. I was one of the hosts for two art-related public television series: Plein Air Painting the American Landscape and the art instructional series Passport and Palette. I've been teaching art workshops for over 20 years. Prompted by many students' requests, I created this particular Study to Studio course. This course is developed for either the indoor or outdoor painter. The translation from a reference study to a larger studio painting has always been a challenging process. In this 4-week course, I define the tools of my trade, my palette, and an important color mixing demonstration. I will take you through the same exact process which has proven to be successful for me in the studio, including various creative options that will improve the results of your studio efforts. My process of teaching is wrapped around the sound and historic foundations and principles that are the guidelines that defines quality art. I feel confident and believe that you will discover this course to be very beneficial to your future artistic development. Tucson Art Academy's online courses is the new way for art educational opportunities. I hope to see and work with you in this new online course.